What's up there, YouTube? Section 333 here. Drinking the Valhalla Odin Force blend. And I am smoking the Frogmorton Cellar. Probably switch to Penzance tonight. And I'm smoking it in the 2000 and this is the 2020. That's right. It's the 2020. It's like, did they name it the year before the year that it currently is? So yeah, this is the 2020 St. Patrick's Day pipe, which was my last video. Did an unboxing of it. I actually went back and watched that video. Wow, I kind of spaced on you guys. I totally apologize. I had a lot on my mind. I also probably wasn't as keen on the pipe as I really wanted to be. This pipe is actually quite stunning, and I'm actually have really warmed up to it. It's not a huge bowl. It's kind of a Goldilocks bowl, as I would call it, in that it's the perfect size bowl. It's not too big, not too small. I am smoking one of my favorite, actually, probably my favorite tobacco in it. And the reasoning for that is because, well, you know, the world is ending. Just ask all the people with the toilet paper. You know that toilet paper is not going to do you any good if they find COVID-19 in the toilet paper, right? No, I'm kidding. They're not going to find COVID-19 in the toilet paper. So I've been getting a lot of questions from friends of mine, people that know me very well. If you don't know, I do work in healthcare. And what I do is I am a healthcare professional. Let's put it that way. Currently, not so much on the front lines. I'm more in an administrative role now than I used to be. I mean, I've been through this with Ebola, when HIV was new, you know. I went through this, and people didn't know much about HIV. I've been through swine flu epidemics, things like that. I've been on the front lines for all of those. I've run critical care units, and that's basically what I do, is critical care medicine. But now, for the last year, I'm actually in charge of bed movement in our hospital. I have a senior director over me, and I'm the director of bed management, patient logistics, and the transfer center, and patient flow and access. So, and then there's, like I said, a senior director, and I'm the assistant director. So what do hospitals do? You know, like, one of the things that you're hearing in New York is that in the New York area, you have about 3,500 critical care beds. You have about 53,000 hospital beds in the New York area. And that's very true. And you have millions and millions of people. And it's also true that 80% of our critical care beds are full in the state right now. I normally don't make videos like this, so I have to choose my wording very carefully here, because, like I said, I do need my job and I need to be employed. Hospitals have plans for these types of things. Canceling elective surgeries so that you can free up more beds in other words, hospitals are going to make less money during these types of events. But it's about serving the community and the greater good. And organization like mine is very much about serving the community and the greater good. So yeah, an organization like this that normally makes a lot of money will cancel surgeries. They'll cut their own wallet and pocketbook. They will. They'll take a hit so that they can serve the greater community and the greater good in a time like this. Because, face it, if our patients die out because of something like this, then our business could die out. And healthcare is, it is ultimately a business as well. It's a not-for-profit. We're a not-for-profit organization, but there's people that rely on us because we employ a great deal, many people, and that supports an economy, and it supports the economy around it. It supports the stores and stuff of people who don't work in healthcare, the businesses of people who don't work in healthcare, the car payments of people who don't. You know what I mean? Seriously. So, hospitals do have plans for things like this. Cancel all your non-emergent procedures and surgeries, all elective surgeries. You would cancel that so you could free up beds. You probably limit visiting. You'll probably, because you don't know that infected people could be walking in, you might mask mandate everyone that comes in to your hospital. And, we're a state of emergency. It's considered a global pandemic now by the World Health Organization. New York State has reached a state of emergency. And the United States, President Trump has declared it a state of emergency, as he should. The president telling people not to panic, things like that, he's probably doing the right thing. All right? Because you do want people to remain as calm as possible. Minimize social interaction face-to-face. You want to, according to the infectious disease physicians where I am, they want you to limit face-to-face interactions to under 10 minutes. And an institution like ours, we would cancel all meetings and you would do everything via Skype or some kind of telecommunication software. Yeah, you would send all your non-essential personnel home that that aren't interacting with patients on a regular basis. You send them home, let them work from home. It's all common sense directives. You would have all your employees wearing masks, things like that. Not that the mask is going to truly prevent you from getting the disease or getting the virus, but it would definitely help prevent you from spreading the virus if you did not know you had it. And it does add levels of barriers of protection. The only thing that's truly going to protect you from it is where you wear the full personal protective equipment, or PPE as we call it. If you wore all of that around all of the time, and you got to throw that out after every time you take it off. You have to throw it out, so it's almost pointless in that respect. So yes, walking around with a mask does give you some level of protection, but not the level you think it would. Best thing to do is to, like I said, you're going to minimize social interactions, and you're going to keep face-to-face interactions under 10 minutes. I would just go to the supermarket and leave. And if you are face-to-face with somebody in a social situation, you're going to keep 6 feet from one another or more. That's important. Droplet transmission, 6 feet is the rule. All right. Now, if it goes aerosolized and it was like an airborne thing, and we were treating it like that, which in some respects I would, you would have to wear some kind of PPE every time you entered that patient's room. You would also, the one thing I can tell you is to stay healthy. Make sure you're getting outside, getting some fresh air. I would also say, believe it or not, this is bad. Okay? Even though it's a pipe, this is bad. Okay? If you're a young child or a teenager or something, do not do this. All right. I'm an adult. I'm an old man. Not that old, but you know what I mean. My kids are grown. All right. So nobody depends on me financially anymore. You know. So, but if you're young, this is bad. All right. As I do it in front of you. Rules for thee, but not for me. Yes. Um, so I would actually limit this as much as I could. We are finding that patients who are heavy smokers, vapors, and let me tell you, that vaping stuff is vaping is doing in a year, 2 years, what 20 years of smoking can take to do. Seriously, it is destroying lungs, and I don't care I don't care if it's marijuana you're vaping, regular. You're putting steam against the lining of your lungs. It will absolutely separate the lining of your lungs, the interstitial lining. So, that being said, we're finding patients that smoke, vape, things like that, are having more complications. So I would stay away from smoking and things like that as much as you could. I would limit that as much as you could at this point, if you can't cut it out altogether. It's mostly patients who are compromised, and it's similar to the flu in that patients who have underlying issues will be more harshly affected by the flu. This is kind of going along those same lines, but it also is causing quite a bit of damage as well. You do want to, like I said, keep yourself healthy, get outside, breathe some fresh air, get exposure to sunlight. Sunlight kills bacteria, kills viruses. All right, you have to get outside. All right, I'm not saying like me, I'm out in my yard, but breathing the same recycled air over and over, probably not as good for you as getting outside. Take your vitamins, get plenty of sleep. Definitely take those vitamins, and keep yourself as healthy as you can. Eat right. Do not stress eat during this because you will gain weight. Heavier people have a harder time coming off of ventilators. So that's where I am with the whole thing. If anybody had questions for me, that's where I am. People are asking would I have food supplies. Yeah, probably. I'd have some food supplies. Why not? I always have. You're gonna eat food anyway, right? Why not have a food supply? I don't know if I would go crazy and buy a year's worth of toilet paper. If you literally need a year's worth of toilet paper, or would go through that much toilet paper in a 3-month period, you probably should see a doctor about something else other than COVID-19, if you know what I mean. But that being said, yeah, I mean, you're going to eat food. You might as well have food on hand. I believe, and do not quote me on this, but I believe FEMA recommends having at least a 4-day supply of food on hand at all times, which is probably what most people have in their homes. But if you lived in a floodplain area, would I recommend you had tons of food in your house if you lived in a floodplain area? Probably not, because what if it floods? If you do, I would make sure it's all jarred and bottled and in containers that can get wet, and float on water, things like that. Because the honest to goodness truth is, if you lived in a floodplain area, you might have to take that food with you. So you want it in the most portable type of situation you can, rolling cases, whatever. But you want to have an evacuation plan, depending on where you live. And I think one of the things that's happened is, I know when I was younger, my father always kept a disaster plan in place. And people have gotten away from that thinking and that mentality over the years. Now, when I say to have food on hand and water on hand. The water, I would say, to have on hand in the event that something were to happen where the water becomes unpotable. And that could just be if you have a bathtub, you get a bladder, you fill your bathtub with that. There's special bladders that line the bathtub. You can put that whole thing in the bathtub. All right. And now you have a supply of water to drink. You can boil that water, use that. If something happens to the water, obviously you're going to boil it if you have power or you have the ability to create heat enough to bring water to a boil. Before you use it for cooking or drinking, you're going to boil it. World Health Organization says all you have to do is actually just bring it to a boil, cut it, and let it sit for 3 minutes. All right, you don't have to boil it for a full 3 minutes. And that's the World Health Organization recommendation. I say let it come to a rolling boil for a good 30, 40 seconds, to a minute. And then, this way you've killed almost everything. The other thing you can do is if you have bleach at home, a gallon of water, a few drops of bleach into the water will make the water potable. It will kill all the bacteria in the water. You have to let it sit for an hour or something after you do that, but it will make the water potable. You can look all of this up online. Don't take my word as gospel. The reason I'm saying why I would have a food and water supply, however, because I did digress there for a second, but the reason I would say why I would have a food and water supply is for when supply chains become disrupted. Right now, if you were to go to my local supermarket, there's almost nothing on the shelves, and I'm sure that's the same. It's probably not as bad for you if you live in a more rural area, but if you live in a more densely populated area or in a city, like I'm in a suburban area, so it's not as bad as it is in a city where my kids live. Where they are, there's probably nothing on the shelves right now. And I will probably have to trek into the city to bring them food. Hence why I keep food. They're all working from home too. They've been working at home for over a week now, my kids. So, limiting interactions, things like that. But one of the things that can happen in a situation like this is people stress eat, they gain weight. So you don't want to stress eat, you don't want to gain weight. You want to continue to try and eat as healthy as you possibly can. Like I said, keep the fat off your rack, so to speak. The other thing that's happening is you want to, with the supply chain disruption that I was referring to, what can happen with these, like I said, if there's nothing on the shelves in your supermarkets, it might take a week or two to get your supermarket stocked back up to full, where the supply chain can reach up and catch that demand. The supermarkets, a lot of supermarkets, they have stuff in the back. I worked at a supermarket when I was younger, but they don't have enough to replace everything that's on the shelves 2-3 times over. They keep the sale items in the back. It's the other stuff they order as they need it. So you could see things like that where the supply chains are disrupted. The honest to goodness truth is people don't buy a lot of canned foods and a lot of canned goods and things like that anymore like they used to. They don't buy frozen vegetables as much as they used to. A lot of people buy fresh. There's probably not going to be fresh on the shelves right now for a little while. It's going to be difficult to get fresh stuff off the shelves. That's okay, and that's normal because you've got your backup supply. Vegetables of any type are better than no vegetables at all. Whether they're frozen, actually frozen vegetables are probably better than the stuff you're getting fresh because they freeze it the same day they pick it. And then it's shipped to you. The other stuff is picked, washed, sent to a warehouse, packed, and then it takes 2 to 3 days to get to you. So it's not nearly as fresh as the stuff that's picked, washed, flash frozen, and then shipped to you. So, haven't you heard that where they always tell you to use the frozen peas every time you're making a shepherd's pie? which I will be making for St. Patrick's Day, which is tomorrow, which is canceled. Although St. Patrick's Day is not canceled, the parade is canceled here in New York, and I'm very upset. Also, my buddy that owns a bar, he's telling me that there will be a curfew on the bars. I think he has to close his bar at like 10 o'clock or something like that. Either tonight or tomorrow night, something like that. So it's a little crazy right now, what's going on. But that being said, I don't want to discourage anybody. I do want to wish everybody to stay safe, stay well, and be well. And God bless you. God bless your families. Testing. This is a big thing. Not everybody's going to get tested. You only have to get tested if you're showing symptoms and you've been in a situation that would have exposed you. Now it's probably community exposure. So now, because it's a pandemic, if you're showing the symptoms of fever, persistent fevers, coughing, shortness of breath, things like that, then yes, you will likely get tested. But if you wake up one day with a cold, they're probably not going to test you. Or you wake up and you just got a runny nose or something like that, you probably don't need to be tested. It's going to talk to your doctor. I think in New York State, they're waiving the co-pays for televisits. All right, so if you visit with your physician over the phone and he tells you need to get tested, then you go someplace that can test you, and he should be able to tell you where. All right, or she should be able to tell you where to get tested. So, test takes at minimum a day to come back, though, from what I can tell. Could be longer. But, like I said, be well, be safe. God bless you. God bless your families. I hope everybody's going to be all right. We're a strong nation. We will get through this. We have to be a smart nation, though, too. They probably should have canceled spring break, is what they should. I'm actually more concerned about spring break. These kids run around doing all kinds of crazy stuff with each other, instead of being smart about how they're managing their social interactions. Yes, at this point. So, yeah, I would be more concerned about the spring break at this point. I think most people are handling it quite well. And I think we will continue to manage it as well as we can. All right, everybody. Like I said, don't normally do videos like this. Don't want to be a bummer. Don't want to be a Debbie Downer. Or a Dennis Downer. Just want to, answer some of the questions that I've been getting from friends and things like that, all right? So, you guys all be good, all right? Section 333 out. God bless.